All right, there we go. All right, so there we are. Mayu versus Plywood. Sorry about the delay. All right, so they're both ready. So countdown in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! And off they go. All right, so once again, everybody, thank you for tuning into this matchup. So we got MayuuChaan on one screen, Plywood on the other. Let's see, just kind of going into some background info while they both get underway with the tanker. Let's see, Plywood is currently in the leaderboard standings 1 and 2, with MayuuChaan at 0 and 3. Now, of course, anything could happen in these matchups, especially with a category like VE, where lots of things can happen. So it's never really safe to assume anything. And also, as a background, just for race time comparisons, is that we'll be using IGT for when we actually, verify the, final outcomes. So it may look like one person's ahead of the other, but it'll always resort to IGT per VE League rules. So not much going on right now other than just making their way up to Olga, which is going to be the first of several hurdles throughout this entire run. One of two things can happen. You can either get a left side Olga, or you can get a right side spawn, which is entirely RNG. So we're going to see what Plywood gets here. And he will get a left spawn. So this is going to give Mayu a chance, depending on what she gets. So she gets a standard right side Olga, where you just go for 2 body hits. So she'll get a slight head start over Plywood, who will need to get an extra shot.
I grew up on the battlefield.
Oh, so he did not get the Olga loop. So unfortunately, that's going to cost him a little bit of time there. As sometimes if you get Olga to go left, and if you time your shots right, you can actually get it into a loop, which is a little bit slower than right side, but... Oh, Plywood getting some struggle with the shots. Okay, so both Olgas are down. Still anybody's game right now, with Mayu with a slight advantage. Which, again, goes to show anything can happen in this. So, next up is going to be making their way to the engine room. Both attempting what I'm assuming is going to be the Dav drop. Okay, neither one got it. The Dav drop is when you can skip cancel an animation when you drop down from that little ledge, making your way back through the tanker. It's when you unequip your weapon and press square on a specific frame set. If you get it, it just allows you to keep moving. It saves about half a second. It's named after the person that found it, which is David Wildstar, or Dav Drop for short. So, again, not much going on here other than just making their way down. Just doing a few misdirect shots to get a guard on the radio, not get shot or kicked. Since movement is going to be very key throughout this entire thing, not just only the tanker. So what's going to be interesting coming up is how each of these runners will handle the engine room, since there's different methods of doing so. One is an aggressive method of falling down to the bottom floor, while the other just drops down a single ledge. So Plywood going for the aggressive drop, Mayu going with the more traditional, single ledge drop. There's not really that much difference between doing either one. I think doing the aggressive drop will save you maybe a second, and all you're skipping is a cutscene you would normally get when you enter the part of the engine room that has the Suntex lasers. Since Mayu opted out of it, she will not have to worry about the SWAT team, while Plywood will go for a swag roll. So that right there you see is really the main difference. So Plywood was able to just run straight on through, while Mayu had to do a mini skip cancel. And now it's advantage Plywood, which only by a few seconds. It's not too early to call anything just yet, but coming up is going to be the guard rush. Like Olga, could definitely set the tone for how the rest of the run will take place. Followed by that will be the holds. Everybody's favorite place, which is definitely not my favorite place, let me tell you. Okay, so Plywood going for the direct shot. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so they both made it through. Now, what's going to be interesting here, leading up to guard rush, is what each one of these runners will do. Sometimes you could start off with an M9 leading shot, or more commonly done now is actually 100% USP. Since going non-lethal for this doesn't really matter as much, and actually killing them is faster, makes the guards come out sooner. Alright, so very nicely done on Plywood's end. Mayu getting a little bit of time loss here. Oh no, she missed! Okay, so she's gonna have to deal with the aim for the lights action. It's just a little bit of time loss you get. So a little bit of a sketchy guard rush from Mayu, but Plywood, pretty normal. Alright, so Plywood going for the ladder skip glitch. Just entering the ladder while having the camera equipped and very specific button inputs. Okay, very nice flick shot. Mayu going for the same thing. Punch, punch, kick, equip the camera. Okay, down she goes. Meanwhile, Plywood's going into hold 2. I'm assuming he's going to do the hold up, and oh, it's the flick shot. Oh no, and Plywood got caught in hold 2. Oh no. Oh my goodness. So Mayu went for the same flick shot that Plywood did in hold 1, but Plywood's domino roll in hold 2 got him in trouble when sometimes these guards will not fall consistently, so you have to be very mindful of guards in front of you if they do not get toppled over by the other. But oh my goodness. Man, it's like I always say, you never underestimate the holds, because it's the minute you let your guard down is when stuff like that happens. So Mayu opting to go for the hold up rather than the domino roll. Not that big of a deal, just a little bit slower, but it's definitely safer considering what happened to Plywood earlier, as Plywood now making his way into the last segment of the tanker, which is uploading the 4 pictures, which could be done several ways. One is either through a 2-spot location method, while others tend to do a 3-spot, which will get you the same thing, just depending on preference, but I believe the 2-spot is faster. So Plywood getting done with the tanker. So he's got a fairly significant lead going in, but like I said, this is definitely anybody's run still. I mean, both have a continue right now out of tanker, you know, because among other things, you know, continues are really the one thing that are costly, you know, because you don't really care about kills, alerts, rations if you use any, which is pretty rare. But continues are really the one thing that will carry over time loss as it happens. So right now, just starting the plant section, just making their way through the docks, mostly introductory, signing into the node. And what I'll be curious to see is if either one will go for the M9, which is a strat commonly done now at the beginning of this segment, after Plywood gets done with this codec, where while you wait for the elevator, you can actually go back to acquire the M9, which is in the other half of the dock section, and still make it back to the elevator just in time. It's a good prerequisite setup if you want to go non-lethal Fat Man. It's also good just if you want the spare ammo. So in short, there's really no harm in going for this. So as expected, Plywood is going to go back for the M9. Well, I believe Mayu might go for it. I'm not sure exactly. So while he gets the M9, the guards are going to wake up and, you know, just basically say, yeah, we're under attack. Meanwhile, Plywood's just going to make his way back to the elevator. And just like clockwork, elevator's there. And up he goes. So Mayu's going to opt out of the M9, which is fine. You know, it's pretty common. Because like I said, there's trade-offs to either one. So it would kind of lead me to believe that Plywood may go for non-lethal Famine. I don't know if I've seen him do it. Doesn't mean that he hasn't. Whereas Mayu's going to go for what I would believe is a lethal Fat Man, which is, I don't know, in my opinion, a little bit easier to pull off. But non-lethal Fat Man, when they get there, is faster, and it has to be performed really, really precise and fast to make it worth it. But still, right now, not much going on. Making the way over to Strut C to meet up with Stillman. So there's really not a whole lot of obstacles either one has to go over. So as you can see, because Maya opted out of the M9 at the beginning, it just spawns at the rooftop in the situation of, oh, did you leave your M9 at home, aka the DOS? Well, here's a backup. You know, the game's just trying to give you a break. All right, so Plywood making into strut B, and you'll notice that he unequipped the M9 as he went into strut B, which is part of a menu trick setup given that we run this on previous, meaning you can swap between two of your most previous weapons. And what this will do is it'll allow Plywood to save a little bit of time after he exits the Stillman cutscene in strut C, which he can equip the M9, which is what would be on previous on, unarmed to M9, and then save a menu for the coolant. And for some watching, it may not seem like it's a big deal. But again, for a category like this, every little bit of time you save you can get, even if it's like, in the point single decimals, the milliseconds, if there's time save, people will look for it. And again, it's really not that bad to do. I mean, there's no harm in going for it. So as they both make their way into strut C, I was going to try to pull up some game data on, where both of these runners fall within the leaderboards, but the leaderboards on speedrun.com are kind of being goofy. But I believe Mayuu's PB has been, I think it was like in the 108, 109 range. I think she was trying to aim for 107. Again, if I'm wrong, I'll definitely verify that. While Plywood has been definitely getting up there with the 104, getting into the 103 range. So you'll notice right away, Plywood is going counterclockwise, since he is, using the M9 for what I'm assuming is going to be non-lethal Fat Man. And then Mayuu's going the traditional route of clockwise, going to strut D. And you might be wondering, well, what's the idea of going the other way around, versus going to strut D? Well, there's actually a box warp that you could do in the parcel room of strut E, which, if done properly, in both instances, will allow you to warp across sections of Shell 1 and still keep you in pace and slightly ahead of somebody doing the more traditional route. So essentially what he's going to be doing is going for, bombs from, strut A and onward, and then he's going to do a quick warp from E to what I believe would be strut B. And then he's going to do another warp, which is going to send it back to strut A, which is right off the stairs from when you came in from the rooftop. But otherwise, I mean, the method of either route will still disarm the same amount of bombs. They're just going to be done in a different order. And, the idea behind this way of doing it is so that you can, get to other plants, other sections of the plant on Shell 1 faster. So there's going to be the box 1. I believe he's going to be picking up another box. I could be wrong on that, but you definitely need a box in order to do this at all. Whereas the traditional route does not pick up the box anywhere, since it is not used. So again, not much going on here. Plywood's making his way over to strut F. Mayu is on the helipad of strut E. And you'll notice that Plywood, and I'm assuming Mayuu's going to do this as well, is they both did a coolant rise animation skip, which is simply as you stand up and you press R2 for your weapon trigger. What that will do is it'll allow you to stand up and then move a lot faster rather than going through the whole standing motion. Just some minor time save, which is not only just for VE, but it applies to other difficulties as well. So Plywood getting done with strut F. And before you know it, they're both going to meet each other indirectly on the EF connected bridge. Maybe they can kind of, wave at each other as they make their way through. So I believe Plywood's going to go for a mine pickup. Mayuu may do the same. I'm not sure. So there's the quick mine pickup from Plywood. Very nicely done. Mayuu's going to play it safe. You can actually pick up the mine that Plywood just picked up from Mayuu's perspective. It's very difficult. But it will save you time if you do get it early versus late, but not that big of a deal for now. And so just like that, I mean, it's almost like they traded places. She's in strut F, and then he's on his way to the helipad in strut E. Now, what I believe will happen on Plywood's end, like I said, is after he gets done with disarming the bomb up here, he's going to warp himself using the cardboard box that he acquired earlier, which is going to be made permissible through the parcel room, since you can actually get on the conveyor doing a very... I don't know what's the word for it. It's not like a quirky glitch, but I mean, it's got finesse to it. Okay, probably getting a little hung up on that coolant rise there, but... Okay, so he does pick up the second box, because I think you need one box to warp over to strut B, and a second box to warp you over to strut A. Alright, so I just wanted to be clear on that, as I'm still kind of new to that idea of how that is done for myself. Oh, strut C, as I've been informed. Alright, thank you, BMN, for the fact-checking. Don't worry, I kind of know what I'm talking about. Alright, so just like that, before I even, before I was even finished what I was talking about, Plywood's already in strut C. It's going to pick up sensor B, whereas Maya's going to pick up the sensor B a little bit later. So now this is going to put Plywood over into going back over to strut D. Oh man, that guy definitely needed the help. It's a moving box. I need help. Send backup.
Who's there?
Okay, so both disarming, I believe, is gonna be their second to last bombs. So you'll see that they're both kind of like on the same codec sequence. I think Plywood's was a little bit sooner because he acquired the sensor already. So at this point, Maya's going to make her way back over to strut C. Plywood backtracking to strut E for a second time, which is going to be for the second warp. So here's the codec you would normally get if you pick up the sensor first, disarm the last bomb, and you get the 400-second countdown for the bomb and the docks. Now, you might be thinking, well, wait a minute. If he's over here and strut A's on the other end, I mean, how's that going to work? Well,
It's the enemy. I need help.
he's going to be using the same conveyor belt strat that he did before. So he's just going to line himself up. And just like that, he's in strut A. Just like magic. So that was very nicely done on Plywood's end. He's going to already be in the elevator. Meanwhile, Maya is going to make her way to the elevator via strut C, through the traditional route. Now, again, with the fact-checking, I'm not sure who came up with this routing with the conveyor belt. I mean, I know BMN did it in the race against me last week. I don't know if that's where it originated, or if he, improved it, like the routing of it. But either way, it's still fairly new. It's not done a whole lot, especially, in a race setting like this. But if you do want to shoot for those high times, it is kind of the way to do it. And Plywood's bomb is disarmed. Meanwhile, Mayo's still making way up to the elevator, so Plywood still has the lead right now. But again, anything can happen in this thing. If BMN touched it, he improved it. Don't even need to check the facts on that. BMN's a nutty guy. Nutty to race against. So, here comes Fortune, which for some might interpret this as a, auto-scroller fight, which is partially true. But there's actually things you can do to optimize the fight to end faster, which is to have her destroy this forklift standing in a very specific spot of the room by just punch buffering to the right 3 times and standing still. And what this will do is it'll allow the fight to progress forward, minimizing the dialogue from her as much as possible, because minimizing dialogue is essential. You lose several seconds each time she does it. And at the same time, what he's going to do is get her to blow up the barrels. And so he did get the extra line out of her, so that's going to cost him a little bit of time there. But given the lead that he has, it's not going to be too impactful. So we're trying to get her to blow up these golden barrels, which is where the variance of the fight comes in. She just tries to hit the barrels. Other times she misses and hits you. Not much you can do about it other than just, keep yourself positioned. Man, she is really being mean to Plywood. Okay, so there's the barrel. So you might be wondering, well, what's the importance of the barrels in the rooms, and why can't you take them out yourself as the player? Well, for whatever reason, those barrels are different from all the other barrels in the game, and only can be destroyed by Fortune's railgun. And they're important because, part of Fortune's script when the fight ends is that she aims for each barrel in the room and then shoots at the ceiling several times, getting it to collapse. Oh God, that mind cancel. I don't know what it is about that mine, but it just scares the ever-living heck out of me whenever it goes off, because... Now, luckily for Plywood, he did not get hit by it, because for every mine that you trip and get hit by, it's at least 3 to 4 seconds of time lost just from having to get up. So this also answers my question of if either one will go chaffless throughout this run. So Plywood getting the chaffs on the rooftop of strut A, tells me that he will just stick with 2 chaffs, which is pretty common. Going chaffless has its benefits, but also its kind of direct consequences later in Shell 2. But either way, still pretty good. So Plywood already picked up this mine here on EF, so he will not have to pick it up any further. Whereas Mayu, when she makes her way back into EF, will have to acquire, or not acquire, but she'll have to pick it up on her way to Fat Man. So still a fairly comfortable lead for Plywood. I think he's about... It's like 2.5 struts away. But again, anything could happen. It's after running in this thing. I mean, it could take one bad Fat Man fight, a Harrier, a swim glitch that goes wrong. But again, just try to call it as, as it's happening. So that little movement setup is specifically to get a fast diffuse, which saves 1.25 seconds for every fast diffuse you get. And Plywood getting a little bit of trouble hitting Fat Man at the beginning. So what he's doing is this revised setup where you knock Fat Man down once, disarm the bomb, and then you attack him a second time, which is kind of similar to what you would see on European Extreme attempts, except with the M9. So not that bad of a fight on Plywood's end, just a little bit of a hiccup at the start. But he did get, I think, all fast diffuses? Okay, now he did. All right, so not that bad of a fight for Plywood. But interesting enough, he did not go for the non-lethal Fat Man like I thought he would. So that is very interesting. Now, Mayu, I don't think can do it because she doesn't have the ammo capacity to go for it. I mean, there is an ammo box up there. But either way, Plywood still got a very comfortable lead. Meanwhile, Mayu is going to take her shot at Fat Man. So starting again with the fast diffuse. Let's see. So Fat Man... Okay, so it looks like she's going to go non-lethal as well. Or I'm sorry, lethal. I'm getting my words mixed up. Okay, so unlike Plywood, she disarmed the bomb first, rather than spacing it out. And, oh, Fat Man went to the left. Okay, so not the end of the world. She was able to secure the kill. But just having the extra movement will cost her a little bit of time. And she's going to get a slow diffuse because she's a little too close to the bomb. Because the idea for the fast diffuses is where you space yourself out at the right distance where the coolant spray kind of hits all 4 corners of the bomb. Again, it just saves you that 1.25 seconds for every fast diffuse, which, again, for some might not see it as a big deal. But if you're trying to squeeze out every second you can get, it does matter. So Plywood making his way into Shell 1. And you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, the AK's over in Strut F. Well, remember the rooftop thing earlier where it's like, hey, did you leave your gun at home? Well, we left one in the storage space locker room in there, which is exclusively on VE only. Every other difficulty, guess what? You got to haul it over to Strut F.
Yo, what are you doing?
We're speedrunning, buddy. I don't know. That guard's, I don't know, he's got a beef with like people running to the elevator. He's like the hall monitor where it's like, hey, no running in the hallways. So what you're going to see Plywood here do now is use the Claymore that was picked up on the EF bridge to detonate intentionally so that the guards in the room will be focused on the stairs while knocking out both of these guards here, picking up the D mic, while also making his way back up to the elevator. And what this whole thing does is it keeps the elevator door open, while at the same time it skips a little mini cutscene sequence of a guy just running in circles. If I understand this correctly, doing this method is faster than getting a, let's say, normal B2 approach, which doesn't involve the mine. But depending on whether or not if you get the fast elevator, can help make up some ground. But the mine strat, I believe, just makes it a little bit. Oh, dude, no, he flipped him over! Plywood, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, man. Nothing is routine in this game, I swear. Alright, so a little bit of a time loss there. You know, but still, he makes his way in. Worse things can happen. So, while Plywood makes his way into the B1 core, we're meant to find Ames. Okay, so interestingly enough, he's doing a pause buffer strat, which every time you pause, it will save you IGT. And unfortunately, it didn't really pay off for him since Ames was northwest. Ames can spawn in all four corners of the room every run. It's just RNG which one you get. So getting northwest is probably the most inconvenient one. Getting him in the northeast corner, which is closest to where you start. So Mayu also going for the mine strat. And oh no, she's under alert. Oh shoot, she's got to fight this out. Oh man, this is not looking good for Mayu right now. Yeah, she's gonna have to fight her way out because the elevators do not operate when you're under an alert. Oh, it just closed on her. Oh my goodness. Oh no, see, this is what happens when you're on an alert. You gotta clear the room. Oh my goodness, this. Oh dude, she's almost out of ammo. Oh man, this is definitely gonna cost her a lot of time. Meanwhile, Plywood is making his way over to Strut F to get the PSG-1 sniper rifle, which is gonna be needed to traverse the Shell 1-2 connecting bridge later. While Mayu is going to be going for her bid at Ames in the B1 core. Oh man, I definitely felt that one. Okay, so I think she's going to play it safe, keeping the BDU on going in the core. You'll notice that Plywood unequipped it before putting the guard on the biometric sensor. It saves you in-game time, even if it's just marginally at a glance. Because for some reason the game just kind of loads a little bit longer when you have the BDU on. It's just something with the rendering. I don't know, maybe it likes the sneaking suit more. Okay, so she gets a southeast Ames, which is not that bad. You know, whereas Plywood got northwest, but given the whole kerfuffle and the B2 basement, it's still gonna cost her a lot to even try to, you know, come out net positive. But then again, there's a lot of things that can happen still. Plywood's still looking at a very sufficient lead as he makes his way over to the 1-2 connecting bridge. So when it comes to sniping out these sensors on the bridge, there's different ways of doing it. Oh yeah, that's right. She can't shoot that guard because she doesn't have the ammo for it. Yeah, because normally you would just let that guy see you, press the button on the elevator to gain 9 frames, and then just shoot him on your way up. Okay, so Plywood now going up against the Harrier. Let's see what he goes for here. So he's gonna go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I think he's gonna go for a 3+5 setup. There's different ways of doing the Harrier. There's a 5+1, which is very aggressive but has risk for getting a double damage on the Harrier early or not. There's a 2+6. And what you're seeing Plywood here do is a 3+5 plus all these extras. Wow, very nice. He even got the overhead shot, which is timing it just right when the Harrier's flying just above you to get an extra hit in. But very nicely done on Plywood's end. As he makes his way now over to Shell 2, and he's going to go for the pipes. Wow, very, very gutsy. Okay, a little bit of a hold-up on that corner, but yeah, going for the pipes rather than the leap of faith. I don't know, either one's scary. Going for the pipes has risk if you slip on the seagull doo-doo, as I'll call it. You'll slip and fall into the ocean. With you know, a little bit of a depressing swim experience and kicking yourself for saying, man, why did I go this way? But not today. Plywood's making his way over to Strudel. Mayu still making her way over to the Shell 1-2 connecting bridge. So this is what you would handle the Strudel perimeter with the chaffs. Just let the guards see you, which is different than most other guards throughout the Shell. Where a sentry will see you and then have to report an alert, whereas that guard makes it an automatic. Now, it's not because of the alert that's dangerous here, but it's the cipher that comes in as a response. So if you're trying to shuffle your way around and a cipher is shooting you, well, guess what? You're also going for a swim. Meanwhile, he's going to use the second chaff and, a little tumble up the stairs, so he cartwheeled a little bit too early. The second chaff is just going to disable all the ciphers, guarding the entrance to Shell 2 as he makes his way in. All right, so as he gets ready for the next segment, Maya's also going to go up against the Harrier with a 1-2. Okay, so this could be a 2+6 setup, whereas Plywood's was a 3+5. Again, this is just kind of manipulating the Harrier's flight path depending on the damage you do. So you're going to get one shot here, another shot there, overhead, very nice. Going to get a connecting shot there. And there. Oh, dude, it just outpaced it. Okay, so she's going to have to follow it up with 2 dice shots, which she... Oh, it went wide. Oh, no. Oh, man, this is really unfortunate. It looked like she timed the dice shot right, but I think it was her positioning that may not have been in the exact spot to be in. It's just based on the pathing of the Harrier. But still, nice way to recover it, but that is going to cost her. Meanwhile, Plywood is acquiring the Nikita missile launcher to disable the power box, powering the electric floor, guarding President Johnson. Meanwhile, Mayu is going to go for the leap of faith. Very nicely done. A little scary landing, but it gets the job done. Also using the chaff that she acquired, just like Plywood did, to handle the Strudel perimeter, because the chaff's really for VE. Again, for the most part, it's just for handling this section of the game. It's not used anywhere else. While at the same time, you can go without it. It just makes it a different approach on how you handle it going in. Okay, a little shaky pathy from Plywood, but makes it in. I've definitely had worse, trust me. And also, I know D-Limes likes to make a knot of this of, what the Nikita relating to Johnson is. There was actually a world record run that was lost because not only did it hit President Johnson once, but it actually hit him twice. Because believe it or not, it actually takes 2 Nikita missiles provided if you are out to get the president that day. So it's never know what's going to happen, but yeah, hitting President Johnson or even like prematurely detonating in the vents just because of poor pathing will cost you a lot of time.
I took these photos.
Oh, apparently Snake took those photos, but I don't know. Those photos are looking a little bit sus to me. I mean, because I remember Plywood's photos and they didn't look anything like that. So while Mayu makes her way into Shell 2, Plywood's going to make his way back down into the B1 floor of Shell 2. Now, he's got a lot of space to work with, so if he wants to swim glitch it, I mean, this is the time. He can also opt out of it, thinking, you know what, I'm ahead far enough, I don't need to risk it. But even still, I would say it's worth to go for it if he wants to just get the practice in. So let's see what he goes for here. While Mayu is making her way down to the elevator to pick up the Nikita. So Plywood is gonna go for it. Okay. So what he's gonna do here is line himself up just right on this angle where he's gonna try to swim up and out of bounds. Ooh, not high enough. He's gotta go for another pass. This is gonna be a long 2 cycle. Cycles are the amount of attempts it takes to get out of bounds to get into the whole conveniently placed hole in the ceiling while swimming your way across the floor of B1 and then just swimming up into the loading zone of the next room. Okay, so before you blink, Vamp was there, and that was Vamp. Just aimed the stinger at the floor of the water, make sure to pace your shots correctly. If you fire too fast, you'll actually allow Vamp to gain iframes and then descend underneath the water. But still, nicely done. He's going to make his way over to where Emma is in the other half of this floor. Meanwhile, Mayu is making her way back over to the vent for blowing up the circuit box. So, still a fairly comfortable lead for Plywood. The fun fact about the swim glitch is depending on how fast or slow you do it, it can actually either hurt you or help you gain time back in a run. Given the fact that if you swim glitch, one of the 2 water seal tight doors will remain locked, whereas a normal swim will unlock both doors. So Plywood will gain time on the front end, but will lose about, see if I'm right, I think it was about like 6 to 8 seconds you'll lose on the back end because of having to open the door. Which, again, given the lead that he has, won't be that big of a price to pay. But just to kind of put it in perspective for, like world record pace runs where like everything's got to be on point, even something as difficult as the swim glitch. So not much happening here. Plywood's just going to escort Emma back over through Shell 2. And then Mayu just making her way back under to B1, where she may or may not attempt the swim glitch. So I'm just going to go to the restroom really quick while they both make their way through both of the shell sections. So be right back. Okay, so I am back. Just kind of catching up on what we're seeing. So it looks like Mayu opted out of the swim glitch, provided she's opening the secondary hatch, along with getting this codec, which is, I guess, to be expected. Swim glitch is definitely a hard thing to do, especially in a race setting. Some people, even in a race, like they know how to do the swim glitch, but they just opt out of it anyway. So it really just comes down to what people are comfortable with. Given the race situation, if there's enough space to actually execute the glitch. But either way, it's kind of got to see like one of each. So Plywood's just making his way out of Shell 2 and say hello to the most aware guard of the game. Yeah, he's definitely on the ball there. So what Plywood just did there is he let go of Emma's hand just before exiting the door out of Shell 2 and then kind of just bumping her through the loading zone to this bridge section. And what that does is it pushes her a little bit forward through that hallway. It also allows you to move at normal speed rather than just escorting her out entirely. Given how well you play this, doing the Emma bump, as well as the amount of time it takes to do it, saves you about, I think it's like 2 to 3 seconds over just, dragging her in normally. And on PC, it's, relatively harmless to go for, as I've been told otherwise on other versions like HD Collection, where it is very unwise to do it, since there is a chance you can soft lock the game, meaning Emma gets pushed onto a line section of the floor where she falls through into the ocean, goes for a swim, sort of, and the game is kind of soft locked because you need her key card. But you know what? I'm still going to do it on HD Collection anyway. Time save is time save. So what if I soft locked my run in a marathon? Which is actually something I did during my streaming anniversary marathon run, where I did exactly just that and soft locked it and realized, man, this sucks. So now Plywood is entering the Emma sniping section, where the run is kind of taking not really a breather, but it can be one, since it's been fairly fast paced. It's like you got the tanker till you get out, getting up to strut C, a little bit relaxing, but then it picks up again throughout bomb defusal, boss fight after boss fight, swim glitch, all that stuff. But for sniping, it's the one point we can actually kind of, recollect your thoughts, kind of relax, take out your frustrations on the guards and the ciphers if you need to. But the one beauty about this section on VE is that you do not have to worry about things like claymores on the bridges. You don't have to worry about shaky aim, regardless of what stance you're in, via standing, kneeling, or laying down prone. And because of that, guaranteed steady aim, you do not have to acquire or use patazamines, which are normally what you would use to study that aim. But for VE, it's just a little nice, like, I don't know, just like a target practice. But even still, even though it's a little bit of a more relaxing section, you still have to kind of keep up with the ciphers that spawn in. Some of them will, just based on, the guards you take out. But once you get it up to a certain point, then you can kind of relax. I see Plywood showing off the turbo feature of the PSG-1. Yeah, drawing a little bit of a smiley face. Yeah, he's having a good time. Because unlike other sections of the run, I mean, once you get Emma up to a certain part, as in she crosses the first bridge, there's kind of a not really a gap, but there's a period of time where there's really no other enemies that spawn in. Ciphers don't fly in for a little bit longer. But also one thing to note, based on where Plywood is kind of holding his position, is there's a weird thing with the game where if you stand too close to the first bridge or focus your scope on Emma as she's trying to cross that bridge, for whatever reason, there's a chance that she'll just, slip and fall over. Costs you about 6 seconds of time loss. There's actually ways we can mitigate that risk by standing closer to the ammo box spawns for the sniper, or where the thermal goggles were, exactly where Plywood is standing right now. While at the same time, you'll rarely ever see anybody zoom with the rifle at times. Because again, we're just trying to minimize the risk of having Emma slip and fall over. So Emma's going to come up to the next section where Plywood's going to have a few more guards to take care of. Another handful of ciphers. Nothing too crazy. Meanwhile, I almost called Maya Emma, but meanwhile, Mayu is now making way over to the water seal tight door to begin her sniping section for covering Emma. Man, I really ought to figure out that turbo thing for me. If like the toggling, because I know it's a new thing now. And the problem with my setup is I can enable it, but I have no way to turn it off. So that means like everything I would use, it would just be on all the time. And there's points when you would want it, but then there's other stuff where, yeah, you don't need to turn it on. Otherwise, let's say I'll use up all my M9 ammo unexpectedly. I wonder where Plywood's drawing here. I actually can't tell what that is. It was like LY something. Okay, so while I try to decipher Plywood's spelling, Maya is just beginning her sniping section for Emma. So Plywood still with a comfortable lead. At this point, it's gonna have to take a lot for Maya to make up the time to crawl her way back. But after this is going to be not only the quick vamp fight, Vamp 2, but There's also going to be Arsenal Gear, there's Raze, there's Solidus, so anything can happen, but at this point, it's still going to have to take a lot. Oh, maybe he is trying to spell the first 3 letters of his name. I don't know. I just tend to draw smiley faces, so I just make things easy. Yeah, so Plywitch just he's just getting all warmed up. Because coming up is going to be the quickest boss fight in existence. And just before I could blank, Vamp is dead. So that is the power of the machine gun turbo for PSG1. See, oh, I've now just been told that Emma just fell over for Mayu. Oh, jeez, that is really unfortunate. Yeah, so that is definitely going to cost her time. But still, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen, but at this point, it's going to have to take a lot of severe mistakes or, you know, a really bad Arsenal Gear Genum room to turn this, I don't know, into some kind of a chance to pull this back. But let's see. So Plywitch just making his way back to Shell 2, carefully destroying the first Cypher while destroying the second one on the bridge right there. A little bit close, but he got the job done. Now, on Very Easy, the panels that come loose on that bridge when you leave do get replaced. Whereas on other difficulties, the panels that are lost stay that way. So on VE, you have the luxury of not having to worry about those. You can just move at normal pace. On other difficulties, you just have to mind your spacing so you don't fall through the bridge. I've lost big boss runs like that, and those are runs I like to forget, but they do happen.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Jack the Ripper.
Man, who is this guy?
You know this fellow? You remember me, don't you? You've grown.
I guess Solidus and Plywitch may have met somewhere before, and oh, this doesn't look good.
Concentration of cerebral implants. Have they altered your memory too?
So while Plywitch and Solidus are kind of playing along there, Mayu is also drawing a nice little smiley face. So this is now the Arsenal Gear section of the run, where we're coming up to the end game. So all that separates Plywitch from the end is, you know, series of Codex, Arsenal Gear Genum, as well as Tengu's 1, 2, Raze, and then finally the Solidus fight. So between all that, there are still some things that can happen depending on how you approach certain rooms. So coming up for Plywitch is going to be Arsenal Gear Genum, which is a long hallway, you know, filled with Tengu guards. And particularly there's a bridge gap that most people kind of, you know, have some concerns about, particularly if you have to cartwheel over it. Because falling through is very costly. Getting an alert in here prematurely, depending on how you do it, is also costly. So let's see what Plywitch does here. Ooh, that movement was a little bit off. Nope, made it up with a punch cartwheel kick. So that was actually good recovery there. There's different ways of knocking that guard over to essentially bait a guard from downstairs to upstairs while giving you an opportunity to cartwheel across the gap in the bridge. You could either do an aggressive insta cartwheel, but your movement has to be very precise. Whereas Plywitch in this case opted to go for a punch followed by a cartwheel. Gives you a little bit of time to close the gap and keep the alert to a minimum, if not at all. So he's just going to be chilling in the ascending colon, waiting for a series of codex, waiting just for the one of Rose to call back, which is that one right there. So Mayu now just finishing up her sniping section. Snake just now, you know, met back up with Raiden, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're given a sword. Well, what do we do now? So, fun fact, all you have to do is just swing your weapon at least once, and then stay in the upper half section of the hallway, which starts a timer. I think it's 45 seconds. Might need a fact check on that, but essentially, if you do not swing your weapon at all, or if you do but stay on the other end of the hallway, you'll either not advance or actually lose time. Which is something I experienced the hard way when I was just screwing around one time and realized, hey, I swung my weapon, but I'm still here. And then as it turns out, oh yeah, you gotta be on the other side of the hallway. I don't know, maybe Snake called dibs on the other end of the hallway or something. I have no idea. So Plywood's he's just having fun. Working at them legs. Getting in those like quick squats. So Mayu getting into Arsenal gear. While Plywood now starting Tengu 1, which is just going to be a series of sprays with the AK. Okay, oh, selected the chaff by accident there, but not to worry. So he's just going to gun his way through the first several waves. Depending on how quickly you are, you can just skip a few. He's going to kill those two while doing a punch kick through the door, which is a door skip done on multiple difficulties and categories where you just line yourself up flat against the door in first person, begin your punch kick, and then as you do the kick, you let go of the camera and it just, squeezes you through. Now begins Tengu 2, where he's going to stand in the upper half section of the room on an angle relative to that door, which is going to manipulate the Tengu's movement, where it's going to allow Plywood's stingers to get a better chance of killing the Tengus without them jumping over. Getting your kills as fast as possible here is important. But sometimes you just get unlucky with, the Tengus moving. As you can see, some of them are just kind of hesitating to leave the hallway there, which can kind of mess up the timing. The fission mail screens that pop in can also mess up the timing if you're not expecting it. Man, those Tengus are really shy upstairs. They are just not wanting to leave. Wow, that was, that's what I would call a Papega missile, where it flies everywhere and hits nothing. So, that concludes Tengu 2 for Plywood. Now he's got to sit through Solidus' speech while he, shows off the turbo feature once again. Plywood, someone's gonna have to pick up all those shell casings that you're putting on there, And what a waste of ammo. Nah, I mean, there's nothing to do here, just listen to his speech. So, Mayu opting to play Jigenum safe, so instead of going for the aggressive cartwheel, she's just gonna go around to the left, go around the guard, and then just make her way through the hallway the same. So while she waits for the codex, Plywood waits for the speech. Kind of counterintuitive to a speedrun where there's running as fast as you can, followed by waiting. It's actually kind of refreshing to see that there's a box in this point of the game, but I'm more of a Zone of Enders box fan myself. Oh, now he's memeing. Yeah, he's doing the Plywood cigarettes. Yeah, he's having a good time. Was that a turbo R2 or L2? Possibly. I wasn't, focusing on it too much. So coming up is going to be the quickest race fight you'll ever see, which is going to be shooting the middle, the left ray, going back a space, and then finishing off the third ray. Very nicely done. There's actually a faster way, which involves missiling. I want to say the order is middle, right, and then just before the left ray can jump on stage, you get a hit on its leg, followed by a mouth shot. I believe it saves, again, I'm just kind of rough estimating, I think it's like a second or two, and it's very dependent on getting that ray, or all the rays before they jump. Alright, so while Plywood and Solidus kind of settle their differences, Mayu also just waiting in the hallway, and she's kind of busting a move. Ryan's just kind of, he's just practicing his movement there. I approve. I don't know what it is, but whenever you put Raiden against the wall and you try to knock, but wiggle the analog stick, it looks really funny. It makes it look like he's dancing. So while Plywood goes through his last set of codex, Mayu's going through the Tengu 1 section. Again, just taking out guards as they appear. Punch, punch, kick. Right through the door. Very nice. And then next going into Tengu 2, where we're probably going to see a very similar, if not the same kind of setup as Plywood did during his attempt earlier. So coming up for Plywood is going to be Solidus. So we'll be using the blade, but lethally. There's no advantage to going non-lethal for very easy. So he's just going to knock Solidus into a corner. He's going to do this several times to get him at least below 50%, and then get to the other side of the roof as fast as possible. Because Solidus will zip over based on where you are during the transition. So if you're too close, he'll zip 180 to where you are and, lose time. But if you're far enough away, he'll just do a quicker zip. So now comes phase 2. Oh, very nice parry. Some misses there, but, sometimes the terrain can mess you up on the slashes. And that is going to be time for Plywood. Very nicely done on both of the parries, which is something I definitely admire with the fight. It is risky if you mistime it, but it does look really cool when you get it. So GG's to Plywood. Meanwhile, Mayu is going to be finishing up with her raise soon, followed by the Solidus fight. So I believe we'll be going to IGT for both runs, regardless of the pacing. But GG's to Plywood all the same. And I gotta say, even though there was some hiccups in the, I think, what was it? In B2 of the Shell 1, I mean, I was able to kind of pull her way back in. It could definitely get a little bit of a frazzling experience when things go wrong in a run, but it definitely takes a lot of determination and just that confidence to be able to put that aside and try to pull the run back. And it's definitely not in its name, but it's definitely not an easy category to run perfectly. There's just a lot of little things that can happen, whether if it's of our own making or if it's just the game's RNG. But I'm definitely gonna root for Mayu, as she wraps this up.
Is that a proposal?
This is for your ears only.
Well, while Raiden and Rose kind of share a romantic moment, I'm just gonna swap my audio back over to Mayu's feed, where I believe she just ended the Solidus speech. All right, so again, she's gonna go for middle, left, and then the right ray as it jumps on stage. All right, so very nicely done. And she managed to avoid the save boss, just as Plywood did. And, avoiding the save bosses, sadly to say, I mean, I've definitely fallen for those before. Just getting overly trigger happy with skipping the cutscenes. But as we wait the credits, Mayu and Solidus are gonna have a little bit of a chat. So the beauty of the torture segment on VE is that it's only for 10 seconds, which I think is the equivalent to what it is on HD Collection since it got nerfed. Higher difficulties of MGS2 Substance on PC has a maximum of 50 seconds on European Extreme, and it's definitely a test. Test of endurance and how much your wrist can take, matching for your life. But on VE, it's not as scary. Okay, so now that the leaderboards are actually working, and this is going to be super late, so Plywood has a PB time as of a week ago of a 103.45, whereas Mayu has a time of a 106.11. So it's actually better than what I stated earlier on what her times were. So only a few minutes apart from each other. I don't think either one was, considered on PB pace, especially considering the things that happened throughout the run, but it was still a good showing either way. All right, meanwhile, Mayu is going up against Solidus. Again, just knocking him over. Okay, so a little bit late on the follow-up, so she had to deal with a block there, so not too much to worry about there. Okay, so she's a little too close to Solidus, and yes. So, see, that's what happens when you don't get far enough away as you knock him over. So even though her distance was good, the timing was just a little bit behind where Solidus just zips to the other side of the rooftop. But at this point, she can still finish the fight either way. So she's gonna go for the block. Okay, a little bit on the gate. Oh, got slashed in the back. Ooh, very nice counter parry there. All right, so he's gonna charge again. Getting the so-called people's elbow, and that is gonna be time for Mayu. So, GG's to both runners. You know, I know it's not easy. You know, I've been on both sides of this outcome of a race before. And I know, like I said, it can get very nerve-wracking when things happen in a run. But, you know, it's always fun watching a race like this and, you know, just commentating. So I don't know if there's going to be a moment where both runners like to chime in. I don't know if we'll do that. But we will go out to the score screens for both runs just to confirm the times so they can be added to the weekly data for the VE League. But I guess while we wait for credits, just to kind of put this out there, so we appreciate people tuning into this VE League match via the MGSR Discord. And we do these on stream every Thursday. There will be some bye weeks given the holidays for Thanksgiving and Christmas. But we will show at least 2 to 3 matches every Thursday, pending the bye weeks. And definitely look forward to future matches. And, you know, definitely check them out. I think I might have heard a D-Lines try to chime in.
Well, I mean, you talk for forever, so I just gotta wait for that gold moment where you just shut up and then I can speak. So, but yeah, thanks for filling in the last second to do commentary while I'm at my chair working. I'm actually getting ready to go home after this match wraps up, but we do have one more match on the docket. That would be Platonic and Tyler coming up next. Should be a very good matchup, in my opinion.
Man, I have to race both of those guys. Oh, God.
So do I.
Let's see. Well, no, because, like, in my lineups, it's going to be against Tyler and then Platonic the following week. So that'll be fun to watch.
It's a tall order for sure.
But yeah, it was fun to be able to help in at the last minute.
Yeah, it was. Plywood had some computer delays that started the originally scheduled time, and then I had customers up the yin yang coming in and delaying me being able to start this thing, and it just was just a big old cluster. So, but it was decent. It was decent. Is that your ringtone? I've been meaning to ask.
It is.
Hexatone or something.
Yeah, that was just my phone telling me, hey, you gotta mute me.
Yeah, because I had my headphones off for most of it, and I heard it. I'm like, that's not the game. No way.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's fun, though. Any IGT predictions?
Let's see. Well, I think for Plywood, I think, what was this run of the board? It was like a 103 something, so it's not that I was timing either one, but I think he's gotta be like sub 104 at least. He did get the swim glitch. Got a good Harrier fight. Maybe for Mayu, it's probably more in the like 107, 108 range. B1 in the shell was, you know, very unfortunate. Plus playing it safe throughout the rest of the run. I don't know, something like that. Oh, well, there you have it. D-Limes with predicting the times. I mean, the guy is a wizard at, you know, getting those numbers, and he's usually right on the money. But but I gotta say, it was a fairly decent race for both of them, since they both got to continue in the holds in Tanker. I mean, in different places, but time is going to be coming up for Plywood now. So D-Limes is saying 104.16. I'll say 104 flat. I don't think it's going to be that, but I'll just try to, have a different number. 104.20. Well, we did have that on a race result. So time for Plywood, 103.25. Wow. Nicely done, dude. I didn't have enough faith. Fuck Turbo, ban it. Oh man, but still, GG's to Plywood with the 103.25. Is that a new PB? It looks like it is. D-Lime says no. If you're talking like saving in-game the PB run, Mac, I actually do the same thing. Like, I'll make a save file just so I have it there.
Yeah.
Kind of like as a trophy, like putting a trophy on the shelf to look at it.
I did that really, really early on in my career. Yeah, not anymore. I don't care anymore.
Well, because like if you record the run, I mean that's really what you want.
Right.
But I still think it's nice to like pull up the game, and be like, "Hey, look at this fantastic run!" It makes me all happy, and then I realize, shit, the run's not gonna always be like that.
Oh, I really wish Plywood didn't end his stream because now it looks weird on my end. So
Oh, did he cut it off early?
yeah, he did. Oh well, it's fine enough.
I mean, I think you were able to get the score screen at least, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's capturing. It just one now, so it's whatever. Yep. Now it's
All right,
recording.
looks like now he just got it back up.
Yeah, that'll fix it. So.
Replay theater. Oh, looks like he's gonna practice swim glitch again.
It's convenient because I'm capturing his audio. Yeah, swim glitch is like free. Now it's just a matter of 1 or 2 cycle. Like I almost enjoy doing swim glitch with Turbo. Almost. It still is nerve-wracking.
And then the turbo applies to the, like when you're swimming, right?
Yep.
For the input.
Yeah, just hold circle and then you just concentrate on your left input. It's super simple. Alright. IGT for Mayu.
I think you said like 107.1. Let's say
something like that.
Oh, look, he's doing your favorite, D-Limes VR.
VR, huh? 107.29.
29.
So, yeah, relatively close.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's going to do it for this broadcast. We're going to get ready for the next one here in a little bit. And GG's to both competitors. So have a great night.
Is there somebody there?